Hi, this is your teacher Barbara Rademacher, and I have a request to do some math problems. So p to the 1/3 power times p to the 5/6 power times p to the 1/2 power over p to the 7th power in parentheses. The p to the 7th power on the bottom of the fraction is in parentheses, and it is being raised to the negative 1/3 power. Okay, that's ugly, but if we go one step at a time, we can do this. Here we go. On the bottom of the fraction, in the denominator, I am going to use the power rule, and I'll write that out. Power rule. That will give me the top, and I'm going to go one step at a time. The top will be p to the 1/3 times p to the 5/6 times p to the 1/2 over p to the negative 7/3. Now we have a negative power in the denominator of the fraction. That means that that term needs to come up to the top, up to the numerator, and be made positive. That is, the power needs to be made positive once the term moves. You have to be very careful what you say, especially if you're a teacher. All right, so we are going to move p to the negative 7/3 from the denominator of the fraction to the numerator of the fraction, where it will become p to the positive 7/3. Here we go. Here's the numerator now. P to the 1/3 power times p to the 5/6 power times p to the 1/2 power times p to the 7/3 power over 1, which is exactly the same. It's useless, isn't it, to have a 1 on the bottom, because the answer is just the numerator. Okay, now I'm going to use the product rule. And the product rule is p. Now notice that all of these are the same base, p. So when you multiply like bases, you add the exponents. That is the product rule. So that's precisely what I'm going to do. I'm going to write the base p once, and I'm going to add the exponents. 1/3 plus 5/6 plus 1/2 plus 7/3. Okay, now I'm going to do this by hand, but remember, you can always use your TI calculator to just automatically add these fractions for you. All right, I'm coming down to the next line, and I'll have the base p. Then I'm going to change 1/3 to 2/6. 5/6 is going to stay the way it is, so 2/6 plus 5/6. I'm going to take 1/2 and change it to 3/6, so I'll have plus 3/6. Then I'll take 7/3 and I'll change that to 14/6. And 1/6 is really hard to say. All right, this is what I now have. I have base p raised to the powers 2/6 plus 5/6 plus 3/6 plus 14/6. I'm going to add these up. So I'll have P to the 2 plus 5 is 7, plus 3 is 10, plus 14 is 24. I'll have P to the 24 over 6 power, which is going to be the same as P to the 4th power. And there's my answer, P to the 4th power. Hi, now we're going to do another rational exponent problem. We have a fraction. Here's the numerator of the fraction. P to the negative 1/4 Q to the negative 4/3 over the denominator, which is 2 to the negative 1/2. No, it's not. It's 2 to the negative 1. P to the negative 3. Q to the negative 1/4. Now this fraction has parentheses around it, and it is being raised to the negative 3rd power. My goodness. There are a couple of ways I could work this, but notice that all of the rational powers, well, all of the powers on the fraction are negative, and the exponent on the outside of the parentheses is negative. And remember that if we multiply negative times negative, we get positive. So I propose to, well, it's not really distribution, but it looks like distribution, so I'm going to say it. I propose to distribute the negative 3 on the outside of the parentheses to all of the powers on the inside of the parentheses. And it's important to say that the negative 3 is also a power. All right, here we go. Negative 1/4 times negative 3 is positive 3/4. So in the numerator, I'll have P to the positive 3/4. Negative 4/3 times negative 3 is going to be positive 4. So I'll have Q to the 4th power over negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3. So I'll have 2 to the 3rd power on the bottom. In the denominator, I'll have 2 to the 3rd power. Negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. So in the denominator, I'll have P to the positive 9. And negative 1/4 times negative 3 is positive 3/4. So I'll have Q to the positive 3/4. Now let me read the entire fraction to you that I have right now. In the numerator, I have P to the 3/4 power, Q to the 4th power. In the denominator, I have 2 to the 3rd power, P to the 9th power, Q to the 3/4 power. Now, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to use the quotient rule. So since I have P to the 3/4 in the numerator and P to the ninth power in the denominator, in the numerator I'm going to write P to the 3/4 minus 9 power. And since I have Q to the 4th power on top and Q to the 3/4 power on the bottom, up in the numerator, I'm going to write Q to the 4 minus 3/4. Meanwhile, in the denominator, I have 2 to the 3rd power, which is 8. So now I have to either use a calculator or by hand figure out what 3/4 minus 9 is. And I don't have my calculator right now, so I'm going to do it by hand, but you can use your calculator. 3/4 minus 9 is going to be 3/4 minus 36/4. And that's going to equal negative 33/4. And I'm going to calculate what 4 minus 3/4 is. That will be 16/4 minus 3/4. And that will be 13/4. Okay, so my fraction so far is p to the negative 33/4 times q to the 13th fourth, that's in the numerator, all over 8. Now notice that p is raised to a negative power. We're going to take the p term and move it to the denominator where its power will become positive. So my final answer is going to be q to the 13/4 power in the numerator over 8 times p to the positive 33/4 power. Okay, meditate on that for a while, and I'll talk to you later. Hi, now we're going to work one more rational exponent problem. Here's the numerator, m to the 1/4 power times n to the negative 3/4 power over the denominator, which is parentheses m squared n, parentheses closed, raised to the 1/2 power. I'm going to use the power rule down here on in the denominator. And so I'm going to leave the numerator the way it is for the moment. M to the 1/4 power times n to the negative 3/4 power over, now m to the 2 raised to the 1/2 is m to the 2 times 1/2, which is 1. So I'll have m to the 1 power, and n raised to the 1 power raised to the 1/2 power is going to be n to the 1/2 power. Now notice I have two bases. I have the variable m and the variable n. The power on m is going to be 1/4 minus 1, and the power on n is going to be negative 3/4 minus 1/2. Now I'm going to have to figure out what those are, or you can use your calculator. 1/4 minus 1 is going to be 1/4 minus 4/4, which is negative 3/4. Negative 3/4 minus 1/2, the other power, is going to be negative 3/4 minus 2/4, which will be negative 5/4. M to the negative 3/4 N to the negative 5/4. Both of these powers, both of these exponents are negative, so they're both going down to the denominator. Here's the fraction bar. The denominator is below it. In the denominator, I'll have m to the 3/4 power, positive, n to the positive 5/4, with a 1 on the top of the fraction. And there's my answer. Talk to you later.